Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Hardwood Nation podcast with your boy CL Anthony and my main man Bryce Ward. Bryce, what is going on?
Oh, not much. Just watching John Morant information and videos the last couple of days because that definitely did not cool off.
No, and it's actually been a lot of coverage, but I will say one thing that didn't happen was there was a excuse me, there wasn't a lot of national news coverage, which I thought could have been. It was just more so in the sports news cycle. So, since we last spoke about Ja Morant on our Hardwood Nation roundtable, the Memphis Grizzlies revealed that Ja Morant is going to be away from the team longer than 2 games so he can get himself the help that he says that he needs. So, how shocked are you that it turned from 2 games to pretty much indefinite over the course of a weekend?
But that I'm not super surprised about because the way we were talking about it the other day, it almost seemed a little ridiculous. The only 2 game suspension, right? Seemed like there's definitely we all thought maybe it should have been the season, so maybe middle ground or indefinitely without a set time frame is more of an in between. Definitely better than the 2 game suspension because we all knew that was just bullshit. Especially for the reasoning that Jaw's giving, like that's not really going to do much. So this makes more sense to me, and for actually maybe finding a correct path out of this instead of just a 2 game band aid, which wasn't going to work. So
Absolutely. So, the second stage of this is now the NBA is has stepped in. They're going to start. Well, they've already started another investigation into Ja, and also this city, state, Colorado, whoever are investigating Ja as well. The NBA investigation is a bit more important because they're investigating how and where the gun came from because Ja was in Denver. It was after a road game, and he was brandishing a weapon in the video. So the NBA is investigating if that weapon was on NBA property, so, as such as like Team Bus, the Denver Nuggets arena, um, the team flight.
right, right.
This is what the NBA is going to look into. Now, should they look into it? Absolutely. From the outside looking in, I don't know if they can necessarily prove that the weapon was on a NBA property. But Bryce, how do you feel about that? About the NBA looking into the gun and if it was on, NBA property during the weekend?
I think it makes sense only because as soon as you said like it didn't really click with me where this happened at, like that wasn't a big issue for me until just now because you did in Denver, that means you're not in your hometown, that you're not there with your usual people. So it's actually very hard to get a gun on the plane. So it's a valid question. Where did you get it? When did you get it? And did you have it in our arena? Because would you have like it just makes sense. You're playing an away team. You most likely didn't have it on the plane. So the NBA, I'm sure, would have some questions as to when and where you did get it because a lot of that trip, you're there playing basketball. You're in the arena. It's not like you're on these road trips or you're not in one city for a long, long time. So it's just like, where'd you get it? Like, you know what I mean? I'm sure it's gonna appear as if it wasn't in the arena. You know what I mean? But I think it's part of what the NBA should be doing. Their due diligence into the situation because if you're the NBA, that's like one of the last things you need or want. Another like Gilbert Arenas situation.
Yeah, and that's exactly why they're looking into it. So it's a very interesting situation because, like I said, you have three facets of it. You have the airplane, you have the bus shuttling you from the hotel to the actual arena. So there's three things there that could nail him if the gun would happen to be on his person. in one of those three areas. So, should the NBA find that the gun was there, that would definitely trigger a suspension for the remainder of the NBA season. Um, Whether or not if Ja is, as he says, taking time off to better himself, as we mentioned Sunday, he has taken himself off of social media in the immediate future. Um, do you think if they find that the gun was on his person at those places, do you think the suspension for the rest of the season is deserved?
Absolutely.
Mhm.
I almost feel like it's deserved already without the the added wasn't on our property. So um yeah, there might be. I mean, I don't know if I guess technically when you get suspended, you are getting fined because you're not getting paid for any of those games, right?
Right, right.
I don't know. Do you think they take it if it's serious enough? Do you think it follows him out of this season?
No, I think it would be for the remainder of the season. I don't think it goes any further than that. Um, One thing I will say is, yeah, even based on the multitude of events from the off season until now, he deserves to be suspended for the rest of the season, like period. So if Denver's not going to do it, then the NBA should do it. Secondly, one thing I forgot to mention on Sunday is that the NBA is very close with private investigators throughout the nation, and they have their eyes on players even when players don't think that they have their eyes on them. And this was confirmed a few years ago by Carmelo Anthony. Um, the NBA knows things, and I don't know how much they knew what was going on with Ja Morant before this latest incident, but you can guarantee that they're going to be really watching him now going forward and watching his click as well, because that's the main reason why they have these private investigators out there to watch who is around these players and how they are moving. But like I said, that is an absolute fact brought up by Carmelo Anthony a few years ago. How do
I
you
bet
feel
the
about?
I bet the guy who got assigned to James Harden really enjoyed his assignment. He's like, I'm in the strip club every night. They're like James Harden doesn't do that but go to the strip club.
No, I'm just saying, and I forgot to mention that
That's
on
funny.
Sunday. So with what's going on right now, I just feel like the aura around Ja, the eyes on Ja, and I'm talking about from a NBA disciplinary standpoint, is going to be amplified just a bit because me and you, little podcast, have been mentioning for months something's not quite right with the Memphis Grizzlies. Is something not quite right? And when is it going to stop? And when is someone going to take accountability for the brashness and the recklessness? Um, Even with saying that, we didn't anticipate this. We're more so talking about on the court attitude, talking shit, swagger, things of that nature. But we didn't even anticipate this situation. So in a weird way, I'm happy that it happened because maybe this is the stopgap that the young man needs to get himself together. How do you feel about Steven Adams, um, actually the vet on the team, saying that the Grizzlies needed to have more discipline on the road? Apparently, this is something he's expressed before, um, and then now we have this situation. So, how do you feel about Steven Adams? Trying to be in that leadership role and trying to get those young guys to focus.
Well, that's kind of his job, and he's always been a little outspoken, you know, in certain regards, and kudos to him for stepping up and saying that because I'm sure there's a lot of guys on that team that won't speak up against Ja or those or that tone because they're the ones enjoying it. You know what I mean? It's like the Brooklyn situation. It's like, why would the players step in and stop that situation when they've been given the green light to do whatever they want?
Right.
Those Memphis players just need to move smarter though. But the problem is Jaw's the one making these mistakes, and Jaw's like the kind of like their leader. He's by far their. I mean, he is their best player. That doesn't mean he's their like locker room leader or anything, but he's definitely one of them. If you know,
Hmm.
he, so Jaw's over there setting this tone and this example for the rest of the team. Um, and so I'm glad that Steven Adams stepped in and said something because some of the players needed to. It can't just come from coaching and you know it has to be like by committee that Ja gets that this is wrong. And
Hmm.
having a teammate, especially one like Steven Adams, step in and be like, yeah, yeah this shit's not right. It it needed to be done because it needed to be done on every level. And I think Ja's really got the point, or at least it seems to like it has sunk in. Um, but you still got to serve the suspension. You still have to show everybody that you're really learning from this because it's so asinine. I mean, you guys are having a great season. Your first signature shoe comes out just a couple months ago. It seems like you'd be on top of the world, and now this season's down the drain. You got to think that Memphis doesn't really do much, even if they make the playoffs. If they can't have Ja, right? They're dead in the water. So this season's done, and so with this one move, Ja ruined the fans season. He ended the whole Grizzlies
Wow.
season with this one thing. In that regard, it's super selfish. It's insane. The season ticket holders, all the excitement, right? All the excitement around this
Mm.
season flushed down the drain because he wanted to go party and flash some hardware. It is insane to me the selfishness and the ignorance that he had in this one moment. All the other
Wow.
stuff I can kind of excuse. Let your boys hold the gun. Don't bring it in the arena. You have like two things you can't do. Don't bring it on NBA property, and probably don't hold it yourself. And he shows the whole world that he's just partying with it out in public. I mean, I can't even begin to understand the decision making there. But it's selfish and it's ignorant.
It is very selfish and ignorant and reckless. And on that note, we're gonna move on. We do have another topic. Bryce, we're gonna talk, and that was very well said, by the way. We're gonna talk about before we head out today, your Orlando Magic. I just want to give an update on your Orlando Magic, and it just popped in my head, so forgive me on that. Last year's record was 22 and 60, 22 wins, 60 losses. Bryce, your Orlando Magic are at 27 wins and 39 losses so far in this season. So they have surpassed their win total for last year, and they are
Yeah.
5 games off our prediction of around 32 wins. So I want to give a very special shout out to the Orlando Magic. I do have a question for you because we do have a bit of Orlando Magic news in the last week. Also, Jonathan Isaac has had another season-ending surgery. I know
Mm.
Magic Nation was excited about his return, of course, in limited minutes. But how do you feel about, Isaac losing more time um, so quickly after he just returned? In those limited minutes, too. We can't overstate that.
Um, it's just for me. It's just a bad sign for the kid because it's like the Ball brothers, right? It's just there's so much talent, and you just want them to be able to get out there and play. And you know it's the only thing they want to do because it's the only thing they've worked for their entire life.
Yeah.
Um, so in that regard, I just feel for Isaac because as a Magic fan, he's been around for quite a while now, and you just want him to be able. He has all the right intentions. He does all the right things. He says all the right things. He plays the right way on the court, like it within his limitations and his minutes and what his talent is. So you just you hate to see that he can't seem to catch a break.
Mhm.
And he's not the first player that's been in this situation. It's happened a lot to some really potentially great players. Um, and just since he's been on the Magic, we've had a first hand look at it, and it just stinks. You know, that's the best way I could put it. Just because it's like everything from him from this year and going forward was just going to be a bonus, anyways. Um, but the bonus in limited minutes was nice to see. It was a fun story as well. So um, it was so easy for me to just think to move on anyways, because now we finally do have more of our lineup set. Like we kind of know what our guys are, our younger guys. Like we have our two go-to guys. We were gonna lean not as heavy on Isaac anymore, but
Right.
I was still hoping to have him back. His defensive presence and he was coming around on his offense. He was getting more comfortable. He had added some stuff. He wasn't necessarily some like black hole on offense. That's not what he was. But on defense, he was truly something special. And watching him in the limited minutes this season, when he came back with Orlando, it got me even more excited for maybe next season. Because we already have high hopes for next season. But if we could have added this elite defender, to the bench or whatever, it's like, of course you want that. But
Mhm.
um, yeah, it's just more bad news for Isaac. I hope he can. It seems like he's going to be fine off the court. Like he has a strong family, friends, and faith group, and it seems like he has himself together off the court as well. So I hope the best for him. I think he's going to be fine. I don't know if he's going to ever really play substantial minutes in the NBA ever again, because this was the same leg I think he was having troubles with last year. One with the hamstring, I believe. I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
something like that.
There's been so many injuries. It's hard for me to keep up with all of them, but um, yeah. Kudos to the Magic. They lost to the Bucks twice in like the last week, which is kind of to be expected. But just the general way the game feels now when you watch a Magic game compared to last year, the beginning of the season when we were hurt, it's just a totally different feel. Yeah, we feel like we're in every game.
Hmm.
Um, it seems like there's a decent group of fans that are quick to say we're tanking or we're trying to tank, you know. But that's not. I'll say like when you're watching the games, there's nothing to me that stands out. It seems like the coach is really trying to get these guys to play to win, and there's just certain nights we just don't have it, or we're playing against a team that's really good, that's on their game. But um, next season, I think we're gonna miss the play-in by 3-4 games or something. We're gonna pretty much stay in this spot, I believe, and next year is going to be the year that it's playoffs or bust. They get one more year because just getting better from last year was a huge step forward. And if you take away the terrible start because of injury, then we're right there playing 500 ball, which is a massive
Right.
step up for us. So that's more than enough for me and a lot of the fans to be happy for this season, to see the progress, see that we have our guy in Paolo. So next year's the year. It's playoffs, or there needs to be more substantial changes. I feel like.
Well, from what I've seen, the Orlando Magic is absolutely not tanking because they're in every game. If they're tanking,
Yeah,
they're being very creative with it. But I'm proud that they are going to make us look good because I'm pretty sure they're going to win at least 5 more games. So
yeah.
we get to pat ourselves on the back for that. Um, but yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the standings right now because even if they
And they
were
also
tanking,
have to learn how to win important games. So like the other night, they lost a very big game to Indiana at home. That should have been
mm,
our game.
mm,
Um, the Portland game was very much in reach. Um, That's two games on nights where some of the other teams we needed to pass also didn't have great. Not all of them had great nights, so we haven't been able to take advantage of the times that we win and lose. It's been bad timing. So they continue to make young team mistakes, which I believe we're the second or youngest team in the NBA, so it's to kind of be expected.
Yeah, 'cause I think the Thunder are the oldest. Um,
Young.
Another thing I'll say before we head out for the day is that um, my coworker is a New York Knicks fan, and I messaged him yesterday because I saw they were playing Charlotte, and in my mind I was like, they're gonna lose this game. That streak's gonna be over, right? And so I was messaging him on the computer, and of course he knows I'm a Heat fan, and he was like, "Yeah, that Heat loss really got you." Then, and I was like, "Yeah," because that was a bullshit shot by Randall that beat us last week. Um,
You
but I
picked a
didn't
bad
tell
team to
him.
bring up though, Charlotte, because they just beat you guys too.
Well, look, I did. I'm not worried about that. I didn't tell him that the Knicks were going to lose, but that's what I said. The Knicks are going to lose against Charlotte, and Lord and behold, they lost against Charlotte. No, I'm not. I'm not worried about Charlotte. Um, someone
No,
who I care about deeply. My cousin plays on that team, so yeah. No, I'm not. I'm not worried about Charlotte. So
yeah, but do
he's
you
out.
think do you think he is gonna if this trend is gonna continue with him and injuries? Because so
Yeah,
far, not that great.
he has to get stronger in the lower body. Him and Alonzo has to get stronger in the lower body, specifically the leg regions. So shout out to my cuz in Charlotte. I love you. I hope you get better. So
This is why Anthony Edwards
that
was
is
Rookie
gonna
of the Year.
say what? Don't be
That's
disrespectful.
that's why Anthony Edwards was Rookie of the Year over LaMelo.
Don't be disrespectful. All right, folks, that's going to be it for this week's episode of the Hardwood Nation podcast. Please like, subscribe, and share our content. Hey, drop comments below. Tell us if you agree with our take on John Morant or the Orlando Magic. We will respond. Thank you for everyone who engaged with us last week, too. We appreciate it. We are out.